afterwards. Welcome to Rugby 100 Club. I'm your host, Matt Courtwright, and today we have Phil Groves, owner of the Chicago Hounds. Thanks for joining me, sir.
My pleasure.
Phil and I met in the parking lot of SeatGeek in 23 when the Hounds started up against Seattle. We did a ball exchange, and then, of course, we hung out with everybody. But this is how I met Phil. Hey! Look at these guys. You go first.
Probably one of the oldest liquors in Chicago.
Yeah.
By the early Swedes who were early founders of Chicago. And curiously, it was the only liquor that I've ever heard of that was exempt during Prohibition because it was so bad. They exempted it and it was allowed. And so it is bad, but it is a tradition that, for Chicagoans to greet anybody who's a visitor to our city for the first time with a Malört. And we've done that in parking lots. We've done that with many visiting teams. Usually they remember it, even if it's a year later, the next time they see you, they never quite forget their first Malört. So it tastes a bit like taking a big bite out of a tree with a lot of shaggy bark. But it is good. And well, no, actually, it's not good, but it's good to do. It's a good bonding thing. And obviously, we've brought every away game. And that one's probably in Boston. And
it was you and Peter.
They have great fans there. And, Peter's the majority owner of the team. And he does a great job running it. We're really, really excited to have him there. And this is Boston. As you know, the Freejacks have great fans, are very, very welcoming. And really excited. I owe them a video, which I'll get to soon, hopefully today. But they're great, and I enjoy going on the road trips because every place is a little different, and all the fans are always so friendly. And so I'm hoping to get to every away game this year. We have a little special schedule because one of our home games is actually in Nashville, and so I know they've worked. A lot of people work really hard on that. And we're really excited for that because I think obviously Nashville's a great city, and whatever that leads to the future. But it's great to have rugby in Nashville. We'll be doing a lot with the youth rugby in Nashville, and so that'll be announced fairly soon. But obviously the Midwest is very proud of our rugby, and the state of Tennessee, both Nashville and Memphis have a strong history of youth rugby and really important programs. If you've ever met Shane, who's now at the U.S. Rugby Foundation, he really set up a powerhouse there, and they've transitioned, and the people in charge. We're excited to work with them, so it'll be good going down there. So, and Nashville's a great place, and I think there's a lot of good rugby there. So it'll be a away game, a home away game, sort of, because as you know, New England travels very well, and so our challenge is to make sure we travel even better so that it's still a home game for us, and in feel. But, it's a great stadium they got down there. I think it's one of the soccer stadiums, but I think it's brand spanking new or relatively brand spanking new. And so, and obviously, we play in a soccer stadium that we love. And we feel like we have the best stadium in the league. So, of course, we're biased. But we enjoy that. Right now the boys are training in the dome, next to the stadium.
Right.
And so, obviously, it's somewhat challenging this winter. Really, it's only been a week or a little more, before it was really too damn cold to be outside. Even my club, we don't, this year we're not practicing inside, although some of the guys who play touch every Sunday that are somewhat affiliated with our club, but it's a little broader than that. They play every Sunday, they're crazy. I haven't yet joined them yet, but I'll get there. But it's good to keep active. But pretty soon we'll be outside. I think Hounds people report at the end of. Oh boy, you're pulling up some old pictures,
buddy. I got you.
Yeah, that's the spring. I mean the fall. I played for the Condors a couple games. This is another guy. I think the only other guy in Chicagoland that graduated from Boston College. So I won't mention that he was there while my kids were in this college, but
you and I both, buddy.
we got to play together. It was great. He's a hell of a lot better than I am, but I got some minutes in at the end there. Usually I play on our D3 side, but sometimes I play on the D2 side, which I
yeah, no. Like all of a sudden I get this message from you, and you're like, bro, check this out.
Oh, well, I was going to say that was a video against one of our the teams in our league, the Reapers from Northwest Indiana. Their captain, Marcus, he wears the dog suit or the hound suit to our game. He's one of our top fans. He's probably the most recognizable fan.
Oh, man.
And
I know. I got pictures of his ass too, bro.
Yeah. I love playing against him. It's been, it's probably when I first started in 2015. It might have been the first game I played, might have been against his team. And so they were a different team back then. They've merged, but it's great to have him. He's really a fantastic fan and a Hound supporter. And it's nice to be able to play against guys in the fall and then, go to Hounds games together in the spring. It's great. And, we have, the Midwest Union is very proud. Obviously we think we're the best union in the country. It's very well run.
Really hard to argue that in all sincerity.
Yeah, it's very organized. And, usually we'll have some games before our matches. This year we have a slight challenge with one game in Nashville. Probably won't make any guys, but hopefully, despite having 3 of our other 4 home games at 7 p.m., we'll get some teams who want to play before. So we're still working on that. It's still early. People are still defrosting here, but I think this is probably the first week you'll see tons of people outside and of the year. I saw a little bit last week towards the end of the week, and so we're very proud of our lake. And people be out running, going crazy. Is above freezing, people are outside. So I expect be there. We have 2 Chicagoland teams in the playoffs. I think both Division I and Division II, and although Detroit's not far away, Division III. So, but obviously the other clubs will be supporting them, playing against them as much as we can in the spring to get them ready. Both the Lions and the Blades going up there, and Southside Irish, excuse me, going to nationals. And so there'll be some of those games played before Hounds games. I know for sure one of the days we'll have some of that. And so I think it's great to support the clubs because, our view is that we want Midwest Union teams winning all the championships. So whatever we can do to support them, that's our pleasure. And if it can't be us, let it be the Lions or Southside or Detroit winning those. And so,
right.
So they'll be there. So there'll be some of that, but we're still working on the schedule for some of the other pregame things. We're lucky, we usually get the fields outside the stadium for 5 hours before the game. So, but Sunday night is a tougher challenge. So we are working at it very aggressively. So it'll get there. We have a great management in the club that runs it. Will and James do a great job on that, and Ron is head of the community. So we're very
24th. May 24th, I'll be in your hood, and I hope to see you in my hood in April 24th.
Yeah, we play Nashville on that Sunday, and you guys are on the Friday, and I'm going to be in Vegas in between, so I'm hoping to have a pretty busy week of seeing 2 games, and then I'm going to be wrestling in Vegas that week. That's the U.S. Open, so my off season is wrestling now. I've gone back. I've regressed back to wrestling from my youth in the off season. So my mother was worried I was getting injured.
Young man.
Yeah, my mother was worried I was getting injured too much playing rugby, so I told her I wouldn't do it full-time anymore. I'd find something else. And she's not quite accepting that rugby is an acceptably less risky sport, but I haven't been hurt yet, so she's pretty excited. So,
how old's your mom?
90. She'll be 91 in July, so she's still there at the games in spirit. She hasn't been able to make one in a while, but I still hold out some hope that you will. And but yeah, my son plays for a club down in Atlanta, so we got to play together for the first time about a year ago, and so so I'm sure we'll have more games together.
That's exciting.
Yeah, very exciting.
So I don't know if I messaged you or not the info, but since we talked to line this bad boy up, did I tell you about my plans in Nashville while you guys are having your home game?
No, I have not heard them yet.
Okay, here we go,
eager
buddy.
to hear them because I'm sure they're going to be wild.
So Saturday night, through another rugby friend, you know how we all connect. I locked down a Irish pub that already supports the local Nashville clubs.
Yep.
We're going to take it over Saturday night before the game. We're going to have community rugby. We're going to have everybody there. We're going to run Rob with Rugby Rant and I are going to run a live podcast and interview people of the community. And I hope you show up so we can harass you too.
I like being harassed. So I'll be there, and I'm sure there'll be some other guys. You got to get Ron Estrada on there because he would be a great podcast. And so I know you have Will coming up, so you're covered all your bases. So, but that'd be a great day. I didn't know about this. I'm embarrassed. I haven't really.
Yeah, no, I just put it together last week, bro. It's so new. Like we're still trying to come out with logos of the Rant and 100, Rugby 100 Club, and mold them together, kind of thing. And that's beyond my crayon abilities, so I'm having to have help. And then we're going to get the word out there. So I'll ask for a little bit of help from you, if so. And we just really want, I think the idea, I'm just helping in a sense, right? Yeah. So the idea is to get in front of Nashville fans. Nashville's got a great community of rugby. Obviously, that's why y'all picked the area. And so my thought process is okay, well, without club, without grassroots in general, MLR needs to build rugby as you guys are doing by showing up in Nashville and trying to stimulate the rugby culture, if you will, if it's not already stimulated. And I figure, why not throw a little bit more gas on that fire and let's go, Yeah.
Well, you'll have our 100% unconditional support for sure.
And I got them donate. We got two specials going on. We're going to have a cocktail and a beer, and 10% of those will go towards the local rugby community. He'll donate it. So the guy
let me do a little BYOB and bring some Malört down. You got to put that rider into the contract.
I love it. I'm sure they'll have it there, but you know what? I could ask them to just have some Malört on hand. Hey, Phil,
it's better if it's brought from Chicago. It's always better. So
bring it, bro. Bring it.
Yeah, I'll bring some. If they
last I checked, you and I are much more alike in that area where we like to ask for forgiveness before permission.
Yes, one of my first boss ever. When I was first working for R3R, says as accountant, that was one of his statements to me. He says, well, better to ask forgiveness. So, and it worked well most of the time. It doesn't always work, but the vast majority of the time it does. So,
well, I immediately, when I hear myself say it out loud, I'm thinking there was this guy that was celebrating in Dallas, I'm going to play the video, buddy. So you'll be muted. Sorry.
Celebrate for those men right there and their fans that have made the trip down from the Windy City. Now joining us are Lucas.
Yeah, that was a lot of way to go. Luckily I'm not quite that big anymore. That was the first year, and I gained so much weight I almost ate myself out of a wedding tux I had ordered for a friend's wedding. Oh, wow. Luckily it had a cummerbund, and so I didn't have to button the jacket, but it worked. But it was that was a, we won the last two games of that. I think that really, of that season, I think that put us into a big push for the next two seasons that, despite 3-13, we felt we were way better than that. And I think we were. Well, we weren't because we were 13-13, but we felt like we played better. But you win the last two on the road, and you come into a lot of confidence. I think that's borne well. I think I feel a lot of confidence now. I've seen some of the boys in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
I got to do a little session with them the other day. I try to stay out of the way, but once in a while they let me interfere and run. And so we did one of these crazy circuits where everybody had a partner, and you're doing 6 minutes on the ski erg, 6 minutes on the rowing machine, 6 minutes on the assault bike, and 6 minutes on just a regular watt bike. And everyone had a partner. And so I was lucky enough to have Mark O'Keefe as a partner. He was unlucky enough to have me. And although we did not win, we did not come in last in every single. We didn't come in last in any of the 4 events.
Nice.
We were last overall, which is mostly because of me. Well, all because of me, because Mark, obviously superiorly fit. But it was fun. But there's a lot of good vibes. I think teams are a little smaller this year, the roster size, and I think it makes it easier to get 32 is much different than 48 or 46 or whatever the number used to be. But I think it's good. I think the official camp, this is all unofficial, of course, is just people just happening to be working out at the same time in the same place. But I think it's probably 2 more weeks or the end of the month, somewhere right around in that.
I was going to say, is it the beginning of March? Is that what it is?
It's got to be the end of February, beginning of March. However, the calendar fits. I think if the 28th of March is a Saturday, so it's somewhere in there. Is my guess is
the 3rd. Then okay,
whatever the day is, it's around that. So
right, every player I've asked, like, hey, when you getting your ass into town, kind of thing, and they're like, March, first week of March. I'm like, okay, kind of.
We got. It feels like I'd say almost half the guys probably live in Chicago year round. We have people who live here and coach here. Because we got Charlie Abel coached the South Side, and some of the Hounds staff coaches the Lions, and they were winners. And Luke White was with the Blaze, and he took them. They had a great year in their first year Division I rugby. Obviously, we had a few Hounds coaching my team, but they're around, and I think there'll be more each year. It's a good thing for the boys to do in the off season.
Have you seen Tucker?
Pardon me?
Have you seen Tucker?
I have not, but
worried about him.
I kind of pop in and pop out. So
got it.
So but it's good. I think the coaches are obviously here, and I think people are cautiously optimistic that
I think Chris is hungry. Chris wants it, but he wants it bad.
I think yes. I think, but some people are quieter. So I think sometimes the hunger and the burning is a lot inside, and they just don't show it on the outside. So I think a lot of guys are very very calm about it, but I think inside there's a fire, and all the players I know for sure. I've only met a few of the newer ones, but I think there's a lot of hunger there. I think they're working hard. A lot of them don't really take time off; they're always working.
Isn't that amazing?
The teammates that live with me, I have some roommates that are got on the team, and so it's a unique perspective. The dedication. I don't think people realize that. You see NFL guys; these guys work twice hard. They're working out twice a day, every day of the week. They're doing something. Even on their days they're not training, so to speak. They're doing recovery stuff, which is they're in there getting whatever they got to get working on, and they they have very good diets. They're always eating, they're always cooking. But it's
dude, those guys nonstop eat, unreal.
Yeah. It's amazing. It's like I feel like I need to go invest in a butcher shop or something because make some money. So we have a couple wholesalers that we get some stuff from. But it's full. But they're dedicated. They're all year round, and I think it's exciting. We don't have we lost a few guys to other teams over the season. We got a few from other teams. So, but I think people are tight. We still talk. I still talk to Michael Hand, who's up at Seattle now, and Luke Carty's down in Charlotte, and other guys have moved around a bit. Jama went from DC up a little bit, and Jama at one point played for our club years ago for a season. So it's good. It's nice to see the guys, and I think a lot of them are very close friends. On game day, it's all business, but after the game, a lot of them played together years and years ago, other places. We have a lot of people were at Austin or LA, the teeny during the teeny years, Gil Teenies and whatever the other teeny was, I can't remember.
Gilronis.
But I think a lot of those people are tight, and so it's good. Even people who've retired. I got to see Chris Mattina, the last time we played there. It was nice to see him because he had some years here. But it's good.
I'm so stinking excited about Chicago's season coming up. I'm nerding out, man. Like I am rooting for Chicago so hard this year.
Yeah.
And I know it's weird to hear from a guy that like represents Seattle fans, but at the same time, like I thought you guys were going to take it last year, bro. I really did. I thought you were taking that bad boy, and the relationships that I'm lucky enough to have with men like yourself and other parts of Chicago Hounds, man, every time I come to town, you guys treat me like part of the group, and it's so appreciated. I just can't say enough good. Matter of fact, I want to harass you and ask you, like, when I come, can you like give a few of us a tour of the practice grounds of the bubble. That'd be really cool if you could.
If we have access to it for sure, of course we'd love to.
Okay, yeah, no, like once we get closer, it'd be cool.
I don't know the answer to the question. Certainly inside the stadium, that's easy, because
okay.
Yeah, but
that'd be cool too, because I haven't seen any of the locker rooms or anything.
Program for local coaches to come and get some quality time with our coaching staff. This year we brought in some all-star coaches to help out and basically help local coaches. Here's how we do it, and watch us do it. And they do a lot of stuff, and they do classroom type of work with other stuff. And we've done that the last 2 seasons, at least. It might be 3, but it's at least 2. And I think that's going on now. I think the signups are still there. But certainly, it's a beautiful stadium. We're very, very proud of it. And obviously, the city spent a lot of money. So
I like it. I mean, I like that there's a hotel right there and that there's that pub right there. It makes it real, in the mini mart.
And we're not far from, if you just drive down Harlem, you get on 55 and you're just right in the city. Well, not right in, but you can get there in 25 minutes, especially on a Sunday night. Yeah. Sunday, the traffic's not bad. So this year, it'll be easy for people to get to and from the game with the huge parking lot, which could fit, because the stadium fits 20-something thousand people. So,
and there's some good spots around the stadium too. I know that most people think it's just, not the greatest area, but there's some great options around that area to go grab some grub and some other mini marts.
It's a great area. I mean, the only thing that, people comment on is, that there isn't an L or a train stop that close. Right. So you have to drive to the game. That's just how it is. But there's plenty around there, and it's a growing city. The mayor does a great job, and it's so I think we're very happy, obviously, there. And game day is always great. The stadium runs a great game day. Have it very organized. They've got it. We got a tailgate lane. So it's, that's where you tailgate and you park where you want. If you want to park somewhere far away, you can do that if you want to.
I saw how Brad and Glenn from the Kennel Club organized that last year. And they've really taken some great initiative, and it's fun to watch as another fan that loves to help. So, they're putting it together, and I'm assuming that you have something to do with that. Do you not?
Only tangentially. No, they run that themselves. I'm actually, that some of us are, members of the Kennel Club, but they do that and they coordinate with us, but that's theirs. And it's, that's their, it's ours and theirs, I guess you would say. It's the fan club for all the fans of the Hounds. And I guess I consider myself a fan, even though I'm somewhat, biased, but
bro, you're a huge fan. You got you emptied your bank account and threw it in there. I'd say you're a fan, buddy.
No, they do a great job. And so, I think they got a meeting coming. I saw on their Facebook.
They do 17th, if I remember right.
So
I'll be there. I'll be in it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, they do a great job, and they're doing a great thing. And they're really, it's that kind of group that really keeps the success going, because you have to have your fans feel like they have some involvement and some level of self-determination on how they run their club and things like that. That's apart from the admin of the ownership of the club itself. That is separate. So but they do a great job. They're very loyal, and we're very, very, we probably don't thank them enough, but they do a great job, and we love having them around and get to see them there. And sometimes with my Hounds hat on, sometimes with my club hat on, and sometimes I've lost both hats. And
then with my you got a beautiful barber. I know that.
I got it too. So but there's so much shine on it. I got to keep the hat on at the moment.
You're so funny. I get
my dome shine. I get my dome shines on Fridays usually.
I swear I got to try on that hat. It'd probably look normal on my big cranium.
Well, yeah, it's got the thing in the the thing, so you can always cut it down if the styrofoam is too much. But
like the comparison of hats right here,
Yeah. Yep. So.
Yeah, and the random picture. Hey, bro, got a new hat.
Yeah. Got a new hat. Yeah. I guess I'm getting more gray every year, every picture. That's some of those only 3 years. I used to have a lot more black in there, but yeah. So, but this is a gift.
Weird. It comes as these patches too, right? It's like ununiform as can be. At least it is for me, anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. I just my kids told me I got a face made for a beard, so I just keep it going. I started during COVID. I never had a beard. Like growing up, when I was my first job, it was frowned upon to have facial hair.
Now, to your kids. So I remember you sending me this picture Who's in the picture with you?
Neither one of those are my kids.
Okay. You like send it to me like, hey, two new Seattle fans or something like that. I was like,
oh,
are they all rooting for us? Who are we paying?
That was at a St. Patty's party. There was a bunch of 2 years ago, a bunch of Seattle fans in, and we took over probably Fado because I think it was a Sunday that year, and there was a whole bunch of Seattle people in town just partying. So yeah,
super random.
Yeah, it was actually very random. So yeah.
I was trying to think. Okay, so I got this video of our first exchange too. Let me see. The fans are awesome. We love the fans, you know.
Fans. We have just such a great group of people, and you know, Chicago people and Midwestern people are very welcoming. So, you know, as far as I can tell, visiting fans feel good coming to ours. It's, you know, they're drink Malört and, you know, have fun in the parking lot. You know, we have a pretty liberal parking lot policy on being able to do stuff, and you know, we've had bands there and that kind of stuff. So I think it's fun. You know, we were held hostage by the weather a lot, unfortunately. So we have to pray that, you know, we're gonna have a lot of warm Sunday nights.
Right.
Although our games are a little bit front loaded, our home games. I think we're on the road the last 3 games this season, or maybe even 4. But so we're a little bit front loaded. But it is what it is. And you know, some years it's 70 degrees on St. Patty's Day, and this year our first home game's not till April. So you know, our problem isn't really the cold; it's whether or not the entire month of April is rainy. You know, some years it is, and some years lucky. So, you know, even
like relate to that rain part.
Yeah, Puxy Tony Phil saw his shadow, but he's in Pennsylvania. The one that whatever the equivalent here in Illinois did not. So I firmly believe that we're almost done with winter. And so, you know, once it hits above 32, it's like, you know, it's bathing suit weather here. And so we'll be out. We'll be doing that. I think, you know, if you'll see all sorts of you know, they'll start showing all the videos of everybody running outside. It's, you know, still snow on the ground. We're all running by the lake, and it's great. So, you know, there's still a little bit of ice in the lake, but I think, you know, that'll be going by next week, and people can.
Have you always lived in the Chicagoland area?
No, I'm from Cleveland originally.
So okay.
I moved to Cleveland, and then I moved to New York City during high school, and then I came back for my first job and grad school to Chicagoland. And I worked at that time, which was, you know, the world's largest service firm, Arthur Anderson, which was based in Chicago. And I was proud to work there for 8 years. And then it's no longer with us, unfortunately. But all the people I still talk to, lots of people from those years. I came here in 91. And so I've been here quite a while. And then I lived a few years in Hong Kong, came back. And then, but I love Chicago. It's you know, it's probably just a massively bigger version of Cleveland, because Cleveland's also on the lake. You know, Cleveland's divided east and west instead of north and south side, but it's very similar position that, you know, the ethnic groups that are there are very similar. I was from the east side of Cleveland. And, you know, now the west side's probably more rocking than the east side is. But, you know, things change, but, you know, similar, say a lot of steel, a lot of auto, you know, it's very similar cities.
Now, knowing that you're from Cleveland, have you driven around Seattle yet?
Well, the last 2 times I was in Seattle, I did not drive. At least I didn't drive myself. You know?
Yeah, so like I hear that
like driving.
Town,
so
I'm like,
do it.
bro, you should come a little early for the game and let me drive you around Seattle, kind of thing, because you'll be blown away on how much alike they are. Because what I come to learn is we did a tour of Underground Seattle after I'd been to Cleveland to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I'm driving around Cleveland. It feels so familiar, like easy driving, and then I get to the, you know, probably a year later, I do this underground tour of Seattle, and they explain how after the fire, when they reconstructed Seattle, they designed it after Cleveland. And I was like, whoa, okay.
Well,
everything makes so much sense. Yeah, no, I didn't either. It's weird. But like, yeah, how it goes, like, because we have Puget Sound, just like they, you know, the lake kind of logic. And you know, driving around, and you know, the skyline looks kind of familiar and the roads look kind of familiar. And you're like, it's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Cleveland was also, you know, the Erie Canal, you know, that basically, you know, because Erie, Pennsylvania is just right over the border, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, that was a big, and my parents my mother grew up in Ashtabula, which is the first sort of port town into Ohio as you're going west from Pennsylvania. So Erie, then Ashtabula, Ohio. And, you know, it was a harbor town. And because, you know, it was built around, you know, tons of, you know, ships coming through the Great Lakes as they were delivering whatever they were delivering. And I'm sure they don't do as much as they used to, but that's, Cleveland was a shipping town. And because it was proximity to Detroit and Chicago, it was, steel, car stuff. And so, their economies, probably went similar directions in similar times. And so, up and down. And so, but Cleveland, is thriving now. And, it's a great city. I don't get back there enough, but very few of my relatives live there. None of my relatives and very few of my friends, even from grade school, are still there. But I do get back here and there. I like going back. It's a lovely, lovely city.
Okay, so you're a Midwest guy. So you see the shirt I'm wearing.
Yep. Notre Dame. Yep.
Opposite, Notre Dame. Okay, so the thought behind this, I know but I'm sure people watching have no clue of our relations, right? So so my little storytelling on my side. Okay, so the championship is coming up in 23, right? And you guys are hosting it in Chicago, your first year being a club, and damn well I'm coming to town, and so you reach out kindly and it's like, hey bud, you want to come up to the suite, you and your queen? And I was like, oh my gosh, dude, you are a savior. I mean, I'd already bought tickets, all that jazz, but for my wife to be able to have AC, because she's very fair skinned and she will literally pass out in the heat. It's happened 6 times. We've gone to the hospital so many times. And so when you offered that, man, that was a huge, huge deal, beyond measure. And then so Jen and I, we cruise up there. We cruise up to the suite, having a blast. We get up there and we're looking around, and I look over and Justin Hickey is staring at me. And we both almost at the same time are like, what the are you doing here? And he's like, oh yeah, so Phil, this and that. And I was like, what a small world. And so what is your relation with Notre Dame?
I went to grad school there. So after I graduated from Boston College, I did a year at Notre Dame, getting my graduate degree. And so I stayed in touch with Notre Dame. I didn't start playing rugby till 2015, so I didn't play then. But we also had, one of the original Hounds, Mike Matarazza. It was a Notre Dame grad. And so obviously it was, to keep stuff together. It was great. And so I enjoy meeting him. I haven't seen him in a while, but it's good. But obviously Notre Dame has got some impressive facilities for rugby because, their entire sports thing is very direct, and they do a great job of everything they build. And Chicago is a suburb of South Bend. So, anything Notre Dame driven is that's what it is. And, actually we have, last year we had 3 Indiana University players, on the Hounds at the same time. But one of them, Noah, is from South Bend. And
he's from Mishawaka, baby. Yeah.
So,
that's where I was going next too, is after you tried to take out a fan base with the Malört on 23, we drove over to South Bend, Mishawaka, really, and visited the in-laws and, all the siblings and all that jazz that all live back there still. And when I heard Noah come on to Chicago the next year, being from Mishawaka, and I was like, what? I mean, dude, I felt I felt thrilled for him because of the fact that, it's such they have they got 2 beautiful pitches, if I recall correctly, in Indiana in the Mishawaka era, and they're legendary. And to hear that was cool. And then of course, I don't know how the rugby community is so small, but getting to meet Justin Hickey on his pitch, watching him coach, and then to get to see him at the championship, hanging out with you and him and a couple other, pretty legendary players, to be quite frank, that we're watching, unfortunately, like we were instead of playing in it. Damn it,
Well, there'll be a time. There'll be a time when the Hounds are on the field for that game. So.
Yeah. This year, bro, where are we going to the national championship to watch the Hounds play? I'm just curious.
I have no idea.
I can't wait to find out.
Well, I know I don't know shit. So, but other people may. Somebody does. It's just not me. So, but the league was well run, and I have 1,000% confidence that they're going to come up with something stupendously great, and everyone.
Are you going to go?
Yeah. So,
are you going to go even if Chicago may not make it? Say they don't make it, are you going to go?
I don't know why I wouldn't go. So yeah,
All right, I like it because I just I got to harass you because
I don't
I
have
like
anything
to go to the
planned that week.
championship every year.
It's probably in June, be my guess.
Yeah,
My birthday's in June, but other than that, I would still go if it was my birthday. So
yeah, man, I'm pulling out of my ass. Maybe the 23rd.
that's my birthday.
Yeah,
This
awesome.
year I'll be there. I can't. I'm sure my June is pretty open. So
Good. I'm excited for it. We're gonna do so we're gonna go to Nashville. So the week before that, we're gonna go over to Anthem and watch Seattle and Anthem beat each other up. And then we're gonna drive through the Bourbon Trail on our way to Nashville, get into Nashville on Thursday.
yeah,
Meet up with our boy Rob Hammerschmidt and his queen Jennifer. And then we're gonna
very nice.
right. And then we're gonna meet up with two other legends, Dan and Sheila Falcon, Tim Falcon's brother
from
sister-in-law. And we're gonna all get under one roof and harass each other all weekend and check out Nashville. It'll be Jen and my first time, and then on Saturday we'll throw the shindig. We'll Cashville Clash is what we're calling it. And then we're gonna do it at the Lost Patty Pub. So anybody watching, Lost Patty Pub, the Saturday before the Nashville game, April 18th, Saturday.
Yep.
And we will be there. So come join, contribute, help us out. Man, it's going to be a freaking blast. And then the game the next day, I mean, bro.
It'll be great. New England is a fantastic team. And I think, we split with them in the regular season last year. And, the other game, we don't talk about. But
it'll be the East Conference battle all over again.
It's going to be a great thing. And, I'm sure there's going to be some good social media stuff coming out there. I know the boys are working. Andrew's working on it. There'll be something good, and it'll be fun. I've got a few ideas. Not everyone likes my ideas, but maybe some of them make it through this year. So I just keep saying the same ones every year. One of these years,
I know that feeling. Yeah.
So, but it's good, and I think it'll be a great day. I think it's great for rugby that the MLR is at a point where two teams can play in some third city and feel confident. There's gonna be a lot of fans in that stadium, and so and it's a fantastic venue. I mean, I've looked at it. I've never been there, but you look at it like, wow, that's pretty cool. And Nashville's a great city, and I've only been there a few times for work. I've never gone there to play, but it's a lot of fun. And
from my understanding,
weekends boys go there. It's good. Yeah.
So it would have been like the 11th or some jazz. I want to say that the media team was there taking footage to start promoting it.
Yeah, it's going to be great. I think, I know a little bit about the group behind it, who set it up, and that those are big hitters in the.
Is that anything you can share? You care to?
I don't know them personally, but I just know their reputation, and they put on great events. And I'm sure they've done other events. They probably got other things for the city, but I think the city's behind them, so it's good for everybody. This is a win-win-win. It's like 4 wins. It's good. So
man, I'm so goddamn excited, man. I like like a little kid before Christmas. I'm just waiting, man. Just waiting, just like rubbing my hands. I just can't wait.
And Tennessee has great rugby. I mean, the massive success Memphis Intercity Rugby created, to what I think they've rebranded, but now it's everywhere. They got their championships coming up, and I think it's in Dallas this year. We were one of the sponsors last year, but they're in Dallas this year. So I know Shane's very excited, and I think you'll be hearing great speech about the Rugby Foundation. It's everything that's happening, and he's put in just countless tireless, probably never be thanked enough hours building that. And there's a lot of success. I mean, the Memphis has produced a huge amount of college athletes and beyond, because they don't stop at college. That's there for life, those kind of programs, if you do them right. And so he's done a fantastic job, and at some point it will be recreated in many cities. It's got to be a dozen. I know Chicago sent the teams to the last couple championships, but it's so powerful, and you get the kids there, and you would see it. We're hoping to have a crossover event at one of our home games with another sport that has a very similar program, that get kids who would be on the streets, get them doing something else. And one of the things that rugby has done a good job at is that we're complementary to many sports, right? So you can play rugby, you can play football,
like wrestling.
Like wrestling is the one I was actually thinking of. There's Beat the Streets is a fantastic program, and it's big in Chicago. You talk to the Hammer about it; he'll know about that.
No, I want to hear from you because, like, that's something I really preach about rugby because I was a rebellious child, which I have a feeling you were too, and rugby would have been cool if it existed in the PNW at the level that it did at that time in the Midwest or the East Coast. Like PNW, if it existed, it was very like tight knit, quiet.
Yeah.
But the community,
wrestling was my first love, and that was always my sport, and mostly because my older brother was quite a good wrestler, and I stopped wrestling in college because the program got canceled. I don't think I would have been very good, but I would have wrestled because they don't cut in wrestling because they need practice dummies. So I would have wrestled in college.
It's a killer workout.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So I'm happy to be back. But that's what we're working on now. Hopefully get some sort of crossover thing that because rugby coaches forever been telling football coaches, hey, let your boys play. In Chicagoland, it's football only in the fall, and the spring is mostly high school rugby. And I think they've done a great job, but wrestling is one of those sports where there's a good amount. You got Corey down in DC, who was a very high level wrestler in college, Corey Daniels. And so there is a lot of crossover. And I think, wrestlers know how to tackle, and wrestling is, for the most part, in schools, it's a winter sport. Although, unfortunately, like a lot of things.
It is here.
Yeah, it's, but, a lot of kids sports these days, kids play the same sport all year round. And I'll leave that where it's at. But I happen to think, the chance of you finding your one sport at age 10 or 12 is unlikely. And I think the stats prove that out. I just read some this week that, less than 10% of the elite athletes were specializing at age 10. It's just,
I'll speak up on that topic all day long. Like studies prove that when children stay in one kind of sport, they peak before or during high school, and they can't get any better because they're not learning other sports and other techniques with their muscles. They will have blowouts because they're working stuff over in the same spot all the time instead of like learning other techniques and ways to do things through other sports. I think it's really important. I know that college coaches ask these questions about, hey, what kind of other sports does your kid play? Because they don't want them to peak out in high school because they got college to look forward to put them and perform them and get them running, right? So I'm with you all day long.
Is good. And I think
a little basketball ain't bad either because that stretches us out, gets our quick, get ready for them Broncos.
Yeah, you got to do anything. So I think. I was fortunate. I went to a high school that required you to play a sport every term. And they had a lot of intramurals. If you weren't good enough for the regular team, you were playing something. You weren't doing nothing. And
idle time is a devil's playground right there.
Yeah. And so, I'm lucky. I was fortunate growing up. I had a lot of great people in my life, and and things were good. So, but wrestling I always loved. So that's a crossover idea. But there's other things, and the idea is build the base and get more fans into rugby, however we get them there, because but it's a sport,
I think that spins. I think that spins back to you talking about getting kids off the streets and playing rugby. I think it kind of makes a full circle there, where we're talking about kids having a hard time knowing their direction in life, and college ain't for everybody. I said ain't on purpose, and so. Like with your hands and trades and such are very important as well. And I really like, there's stories, so many stories, much like you probably know a few off the top of your head, which I'm curious, where guys are just, doing shit they ain't supposed to be doing. And they're hanging out with a crowd they're not supposed to be hanging out with. And if we can draw them into our culture and help them, get a job, give them a place to go play on Tuesdays and Thursdays and mess around on Saturday or whatever, and then go have pints with your boys and bond. And it just, it takes it fills that void where they otherwise could have, been in a situation that's much more life threatening.
Yeah, I agree. I think, twofold. One is, and this kind of leads into some of our home games, is that obviously the focus on youth and providing opportunity to those people to do something, keep them out of trouble. But that's a segue. So the Lions, which is one of the big clubs, they focus
wags all day.
Yeah, they focus. They have a very strong, very younger youth program. they run it out of their place and in the Hope folks, and they do a great job, and it's growing. And they have infrastructure just for that. My club, which is the Chicago Rugby Club, our focus is more on high school. We coach.
Who's your club? I'm sorry.
Chicago Rugby Club. So Griffins, Condors, Silverbacks, Frogs, Sirens, Dames, and then we have 2 high school teams, Berserkers and Valkyrie. And so our focus, it just ended up that way, was a lot of high school coaching. So a lot of the the teams inside Chicago that have teams, a lot of them are coached by players on our team in the spring. And so so it's the pipeline, so to speak, to keep it going, to keep those kids, because you have to be 18 to play. So you come out of college, if you don't go away to college, well, then you come play on one of the men's teams. And so we've had people that were playing high school ball in the spring and join the club, and maybe the next year they're D3. We have one guy who just joined the Marines, Alan. He went from high school to D3 to D1 in a 2-year period, in back-to-back seasons. And it was,
wow, that's an athlete.
Yeah, he's a tremendous athlete. So, but yeah, so we have that. And so, but that also leads into, you don't want to stop, once they're 18 and they get the men's club. So one of the events we'll have this year in our main game is, we're very, very fortunate that, to do something with Loose Heads. And, Loose Heads is affiliated with World Rugby, but it's, it's a mental health thing. But there'll be a Loose Heads Day, at the Hounds in May. It's after the Seattle game, so it must be like whatever the next May.
Whatever the next. Okay.
And so we'll have that there, and obviously the goal, for the Loose Heads is to build what they're doing in the U.S. Because they're building it everywhere in the world, but building the U.S. And what better place to start than the area of the country that has the most clubs. And so if you want Loose Heads in all your clubs, and to have a Loose Heads representative on every men's and women's team, what better than the Midwest? We have more clubs than anybody. And so we're just starting this, but they'll be here that day. And I think, to hear their message, which is so important. And it's, it's important from the highest levels down to the lowest levels, obviously. As in a big club, there's a lot of guys who play in your club, and girls in girls club, that don't often see the field a lot, but they come to practice and you want them in the club. And, it's keeping track of your brothers and sisters and what they're doing.
Those people are the ones that keep the club together. They're like the glue that keeps the club together, man.
No, that's true. I agree with you 100%. And sometimes you can only realize that if you've got a club with multiple sides. If you only had a Division I club, that's a little more cutthroat. You got to spend your time on that. But when you have 4 or 5 sides in your big club, or even if you're not a D1 club, you're a D2 or 3 or 4, then you understand that there are people there that are in the club, and whether they play in the field or not always the important thing for them. It's the camaraderie. And when you get the Loose Heads messages, a lot of people that, being part of a club as an adult, can help you in a lot of ways that, especially men, but don't always talk about that. It's that kind of
talk
stuff.
About it. Love it.
You need to talk about more. And so I think Loose Heads push. If you get a representative of every club, then you have a talker. And, obviously it's the goal, and, they're going to be doing stuff with the MLR. I think they're going to Boston before us, and then they're coming to us. But I think, that's the kind of thing that's vital, important for the league and American rugby to kind of embrace these, because they put a lot of time and effort in this. They're all over the world, Loose Heads. And I think they're all the top people are UK folks. But it's a world rugby initiative. We've done some stuff, the World Cup charity, Pass It Back. We've done stuff with them. We'll probably do something with them again this year, which is essentially Pass It Back is, youth rugby kind of thing, inclusive stuff. It started in Asia, and that's how I learned about rugby, from those guys. And that's where I got into rugby, was actually learning about that, on some crazy Laos trips before I started playing.
Really?
Was that, and that became Pass It Back, which is an Australian charity, but it's the World Cup charity, the last 2 World Cups. And they do a fantastic job of having programs that are, reaching, I think they're sort of, their sweet spots 10 to 14, where they're still manageable, and, they're still, you can influence them. And their model is to do it through peers. So the directors aren't 35-year-olds. It's like, it's 18 to 22-year-olds who are telling this 10 to 14, here's how I did it. Here's how I fought peer pressure. Here's how I stayed in school. Here's how, whatever it comes up to. And it's built around life skills that it's got a proven track record, and they can track 15 years on what percentage of people are still either playing rugby or they went to school, and the results are fantastic. And it's want to replicate that. It started more in a rural environment, taking farm kids that don't drop out of school at 12 and go farm. Maybe you stay in school, and so it's a little different in an urban environment, but that's where it's going in the U.S. And so it's all over the world now. It's very powerful, and you just see things, and you see their results. It's just amazing. So,
I'm super interested in learning more. Thank you for bringing this up. This is something that I've got more consistent in my podcast recently, because people have reached out to me, men have reached out to me about mentorship, the loose heads kind of stuff. And think it's really, really important, because it's studies are finding that men get into their 30s and they start losing touch of communicating with their peers and interacting with their peers. And because life happens. It's not like anybody's doing it on purpose or anything, but life happens. And then we start feeling like we're on an island by ourselves, and the camaraderie amongst men is very important. And I feel like more than ever in our society that we need to encourage men bonding and interacting and having relations on their level and whatever they wish, but just to be present is important, because it's really screwing a lot of people up, unfortunately, because there's just like, men don't know how to tie a tie. Men don't know how to do some of the very traditional things in life. We're working on equality and all that stuff, and I don't respect that. At the same time, everybody's expecting for each other to like get through it mentally. And
I think there's progress being made. I mean, part of it is structure. I think men work well in structure. So if you're in a rugby club, you're practicing Tuesdays and Thursdays, and you're going to play on Saturday. And if you don't play, where everyone's going to be. And so that's good. But I think there's progress being made, because my youngest all my kids are in their 20s already. So I remember, when it was baby time, it was baby shower time, and there was no, it was mostly for the mothers. But now it's common to have a diaper party for the dad to be, where and there's been a few of them in the rugby community that I know of this spring, and it's that type of, we'll just call it
awesome,
for lack of a better word, called softer stuff. But no one makes fun of it. No one's saying, oh, you're going to a diaper party. I think people are like, hey, it's another way to engage with people that, when you start having kids, that's a time commitment that something has to give. And so often it's your friends or your sports or something else, but it's a way to kind of stay involved in that. It's important to do those things, which, to tell you the truth, would never even entered into my brain in 1997 when we were having our first baby. So, I'm not sure I went to the shower. Probably didn't. But I might have been there to clean up. But it's it's a guys thing. It's a guys' day. We're gonna have guys' day, and we're gonna, we just had a couple in the club this year, and we got another one coming up that go buy some diapers, because that's the thing to do now. So I think it all feeds in there, and I think it's why many of us are believe rugby is the greatest sport ever invented. So
we definitely have our soapbox, don't we, bud?
Of course, yes, of course. So, but it's good, I think, and it's it can only go up, I guess. I think but I'm biased. I think it can keep going up, and a lot of it's if you can just keep getting the momentum coming, and go through your ups and downs. You go from 10 teams to 6 teams. Well, there'll be a time when we'll be at 12 teams or 16 teams. It'll come and it'll be there. We'll all still be alive, and it'll be there. Grow, and it'll work out. MLS went through ups and downs. Other sports go through ups and downs. The WNBA's gone this and that. Now they're killing it. They got off-season tournaments with 3-on-3 stuff. I mean, it's just growing. And I think it's just a matter of just being patient and making good decisions. Fortunately, we got some smart people in the league. We're on ESPN2 this year. That we weren't on ESPN2 last year.
It's Sunday night rugby. I think it's clutch.
I think that's great. We need eyeballs on it, and you get eyeballs on it, and people are like, "Oh, wow, that's neat." And I want more of that. And we were on ESPN Plus and local stuff before, and now ESPN2. I'm excited. That's a big jump up. And it's early in the thing, so even though Sunday night baseball might around, but no one's paying attention in April in baseball, anyways. Well, they might be, but it's it's not the same. And
it's so early. Nobody's really worrying about it.
No, and you're in that window, kind of. The NBA playoffs haven't really started yet in earnest. And so you got that, and football's not there, and they're not playing the whatever. Well, they are playing football, but it's not going to be on Sunday nights. It's during the day, so you have less competition. People, I've watched a lot of crap on TV for sports just because it's sports, right? Like, I'm watching
it's typically a dude thing, right?
Yeah, it's just okay. What's sports on? Doesn't matter what it is. I can only watch so many bag throwing and pickleball, whatever they're showing, on that. If I can't find rugby, there's, I got to find it. But Sunday night, okay, I'm going to watch something. It's like, I got to work tomorrow. I need to shut my brain off for a while. I can watch some sports, and recovering from the weekend or whatever you did. And I think it's brilliant. I don't know who thought it up, but whoever did was smart, and I think that's great. I think that's going to bode well for the league, and go from there. I mean, international people, it'll be Monday morning for them, so maybe not quite the greatest, but I get
a random question.
There's nowhere else to watch rugby. You watch them rugby.
Totally.
Yeah. Actually, by the time in Australia and New Zealand, 7 p.m. in Chicago time is like noon in some parts because they got so many different time zones. But noon or in the afternoon, now you can watch it during your lunch break.
Totally.
Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Like, you've been on a few tours, have you not?
I have been on a lot of tours, yes.
What was your favorite tour? Tell me a story.
Oh, well, the two tours I've gone on a lot was often in October or late in the year or January, depending on the year. I tour Laos, which was the first place I ever learned how to play rugby. And so
oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so and it's tens there. Asia plays a lot of tens because when all the people from Britain Arrows settled there, a lot of the clubs weren't big enough to have real 15 sides. You didn't have enough people, so you played tens, and tens is fantastic to play. It's that hybrid, and you need both backs and forwards. It's good. And so I've been on a lot of great tours, playing in Laos. At one point before COVID, a little different. After COVID, it's tougher. But some of the teams you be there get the Royal Thai Navy, the Royal Thai Air Force, the police are there, and they're fielding their own tens teams, and you're playing against the Royal Police. And it's great.
It's so cool.
Oh, just knocking heads, and it's great. And this is right when we were, Pass It Back was exploding, and they struggled to get 8 teams, and now they probably have a tournament with like 50 youth teams there. It's mostly youth tournament, so there's still some people there. Good. And you were lobbying the communist government for support, and here it is. You're showing all these youth, and begrudgingly they eventually they get there. So that's one. The other tour I like to go on. I'm going to miss it this year because I'll be wrestling, but is usually play in the tournament right before Hong Kong Sevens. So we've gone there as a club a few times. The last 2 years I played for Pass It Back. We just had a charity team there, and so there's a social tens tournament right before it on the Thursday, Kowloon Rugby Fest. It's a fantastic, the best social tournament I've ever played in. It's fantastic. 3 pitches, all the teams well run, and then you roll right into Hong Kong Sevens. And it's in Hong Kong, and this is the 50th year of Hong Kong Sevens. So, and I started that when
it's on my bucket list, buddy. It's on my bucket list.
It's a great experience because the Kowloon one's very social, and then there's the Hong Kong Tens, which is basically corporate teams importing a bunch of ringers for the weekend just to play Hong Kong Tens. It's like a lot of people play in Japan, and it's they're big boys, and it's great rugby, men's and women's, and a lot of them are elite, paid teams, and it's just fantastic. And Hong Kong Football Club has their own pitch, and Andrew Duratolo, who's an Eagle, he's the head coach.
I know Andrew.
Yeah, so
he lives here in Seattle.
Yeah, so they host it in the Hong Kong, which is fantastic, and then you just go watch Hong Kong Sevens. They got a brand new stadium, and it's just so nice, and it's great. And that's a tour if you ever have a chance to go on that one. That one is pretty good. There's some other ones out there. I've been to Bangkok Sevens. I've been to Bangkok Tens. There's a lot of good tournaments in Asia to tour. But those two, I think, are the ones that stand out for me. And then, I've never made it to Can-Am here in the U.S., so I'd love to go.
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed. I went to Aspen Rugby Fest one time.
Oh, I want to go to that too. Rickert and I were talking about that over the summer, and he was just going on and on about how great it was. And I
went there.
And I looked at the lodging, and over here, you know,
it's
I
expensive.
was like, golly, dude, that yeah. I was trying not to use all my 4-letter words.
It's pricey, but there are other stuff, other tournaments. We used to have one here in Chicago in March, Whiskey 10s. They're not going to have it this year because Southside is prepping for their playoff run. But that's always a great tournament, and I'm sure that'll come back in some form. So, but yeah, there's a lot to do.
Yeah, and if I remember right, let's see, Luke and the Blaze, right? Chicago Blaze are going to host the Nationals. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. So the Blaze have a wonderful, and it's all grass. They got a clubhouse, which is lovely. They got, let's see, 1, 2, I think it's 4 pitches, maybe 5. They have 4 pitches.
They got a clubhouse, bro. That's, that right there is like the best thing to hear
with real bathrooms. I mean, it's a clubhouse, showers, and it's probably 4 locker rooms. But it's fantastic. But they have 1, 2, at least 4 pitches, grass pitches, and it's a beautiful. And they always run a great tournament. And so I think it's
so good.
About 45 minutes down from the city. Well, there's plenty out there. It's probably closer to Midway than it is O'Hare. Although it's a little bit west, so you can probably hit the highway for either. But that's great. The Blaze put on a fantastic show, and obviously we're very, very proud of Chicagoans, area people, to have the championships right here in town.
Yeah, I'm curious now that I'm looking at it. I need to look into, like, so I know the game that I come to your hood is May 24th, which is a Sunday. So now I'm wondering if
usually in May. I think the championships are usually in May. I don't remember the date, but I'm pretty confident.
No. I was sorry. I was talking about the Hounds game.
No, sorry, but I mean, I think the thing at the Blaze will also be in May.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure because by Memorial Day, everyone switched to 7s. So I'm pretty confident it's probably by Memorial Day, all 15 stuff is done.
I just kick myself every time I see it pop up, and I'm like, just pissed at myself that I'm not rolling back there because, like I said, man, going to Chicago and it's starting to feel
grass, like they're having on grass. A lot of times the finals are not on grass. This is their grass.
Huge.
It's beautiful. The only risk is rain. Obviously, if it gets heavy rain, you're going to get a little flooding. But they're fabulous. They run a great tournament. We played there a lot, because it's the same place that Blaze's home pitch. So I play there at least once a year, because they're rivals. They're in 2 of our divisions, 2 and I think they're 2 and 3. So or 1 and 3. So our club plays against them often. But it's a great place. Yeah. Oh, the Hammer will know all about that. He'll talk your ear off about that. So.
Oh yeah, no. Yeah, it's like who gets a word in edgewise, kind of like you and I, say honest.
Well, he's a great rugby ambassador, and
I'm into that.
Yeah, so he's good for everybody, and he knows what he's doing, and he does good stuff. So,
yeah, I'm a huge fan, honest, Abe. Yeah, really, just like Rob's had a lot to do with me, just even doing a podcast and getting.
He's a big wrestler too. Yeah, his daughters wrestle, so he's a big wrestling fan.
Yeah. He's coaching wrestling tonight. I know that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He is true. Like, cannot say enough good about him, be honest with you. Yeah. Like low key, I kind of got a man crush on him, I'm not gonna lie, So anybody like-minded, I'm gonna just crush on a little bit.
But he often brings his sons to the games. And so they're all like
Princess and Jackson, if I recall correctly.
Like 12 feet tall. Yeah. So you have to stack 2 of me on top of them to reach one of them. Preston, I think Preston's the taller of them.
He is. Yeah. He's that kid's and he's typically just ripped too. Yeah. He's definitely an athlete. Yeah.
Well,
good personality too. Like mom and dad did him right.
Yeah. So but there's a few, his kids play. I don't know if you ever met Jay Rizzo, but his son plays in the MLR, and Jay's a long time, coach in the area, and his son played for DC for a while. I think he's still on the DT. I haven't looked at the roster. I'm pretty sure he's still.
You're good. Everything's changing so much this year, bro.
Yeah.
Unreal. Seattle has 7 returning players from last year out of 36 last year, right?
Oh, I think from the Hounds' first year, we have. I think there's only 5 or 6 left. From 23, so we have Charlie Abel, McLean Jones, Michael
Baska,
O'Keefe, Luke White, and I don't know if I'm forgetting someone, but That might be. They
I
might
thought-
have been 5.
Yeah.
Because Bryce retired.
Campbell, yep.
Bill Meeks is in Patty Ryan retired. So yeah, it's
There's
the
been a lot of
club is-
retirements this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, hey man, I want to say thank you very much for making the
Oh.
time to hang out.
Well,
and
happy to be here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good to shoot the stuff, and I'm sure there'll be more shooting of boots and shooting whatever we'll be doing in the spring. So yes.
Too much fun.
All right. I'll talk to you.
Have a good one, bro. Thank you so much for making time.
Love rugby? So does Matt. He is host of the Rugby 100 Club podcast, where Major League Rugby stars tell their stories. But it's more than a podcast, it's a passport. Rugby 100 Club builds epic fan trips to follow your team on the road. Game day tickets included. Tailgates and fan meetups? You bet. Unforgettable memories every single time. Rugby 100 Club, where fandom meets the road.